Alright, what's up everybody? It's going to be a long video, but we're going to go over a multi-part review of the Limited Resources review. I have not watched this yet. I know that I agree and disagree with them quite frequently. I'm just hoping to put in my voice here. For those of you who don't know me, I am about 1860 limited rating on MTGO right now, somewhere in that range. Could be higher, could be lower, it depends. PTQ top 8 I've placed back in Counter-Strike here, lost to the winner, that's it. And I've played in quite a few limited PPTQs. I have like a 30 to 40%, probably somewhere like 30-ish% first place rate, and a top 8 rate of about 50%-ish. I have gotten a bit lucky in those PPTQs, if I'm being perfectly honest. My seal pools have been pretty good. So, past that, I think that speaks to my credentials a little bit. I do need these headphones because I need to hear what they're saying. Let's just get right into it. This is going to be quite a bit of content, so let's just go for it. So going to be the commons and uncommons.
It is, they're going to have it over at CFB and they're going to get that out to you quickly. And while you're there,
okay.
Well, they have the same
ones about Guardian Project,
right,
about which was the actual signed uncommon versus the good uncommon.
Exactly. So we'll wait on that. So we're going to start with white. So our first card then is a Johnny's Primate. Welcome back.
I'm going to pause here and give my thoughts on the card, and then we'll hear what they have to say. That way you guys can know that I'm not being particularly biased because of what they say. Quite frankly, I don't really love a Johnny's Primate in this format. I'm not a big fan of 2-mana 2/2s when there's Chandra's Pyrohelix as well as Sorin's Thirst, along with all the other removal in this format. So really you're looking to be able to put a counter on it and then have some proliferate synergy. But the life gain cards in this format are fairly limited. You have Sunblade Angel at 6 mana. You have Sorin's Thirst for white-black. You have Sorin himself for white-black. So really you could look to play a Johnny's Primate in white-black sometimes. There's also the 1/5 black common that I believe has lifelink as well. So if you're playing white-black, a Johnny's Primate goes up. But if you're not playing white-black, I don't think there's enough synergy to really make me actually want to play a Johnny's Primate, unless my creature count is desperate enough that I really need to play a 2-mana 2/2. And frequently I found that I'd rather play something slower, I'd rather play something a little bigger, I'd rather play something that's 1/3, has more toughness than a Johnny's Primate, unless I have that black-white synergy, I think. So overall, I don't know what rating system they're using. If they're using the normal rating system, I'd give it or if they're using the 0 to 5 rating system, I gave a Johnny's Primate 2.5 in general, 3.0 in the black-white deck. That's a B or a B+, depending on the deck you're talking about. I think if you're talking about the context of black-white itself, that changes things quite a bit. Alright.
A Johnny's Primate, 1 and a white for a 2/2 cat soldier at uncommon. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1.
I just think 2-mana 2/2s in this format are not great.
This is a classic card. It's got some decent support here. We've got multiple other
though it does work with Sorin's Thirst. So really, you're looking black-white. Okay,
and uncommons
that's all I'm gonna say.
That gain you life, which Johnny's Primate doesn't need a whole lot of help. But 2-mana 2/2 with slight upside generally is a good card in limited.
Right, and this is a classic case of a pretty high floor. Your worst case scenario is not that bad. And boy, the ceiling actually gets kind of out of hand. Turn 2.
So I think the floor of a 2-mana 2/2 is worse in this format, but I've said that.
Johnny's Primate is pretty scary if your opponent has any type of repeat.
Than it is in a normal format.
I'm tempted to go fairly high on Primate. Look, they don't tend to put it in sets that don't support it, right? It's not like, when they make the file, they're just like, well, we'll throw this in and there's only one card. It's usually like there's quite a few ways to trigger it.
There's not a ton of ways.
All gain life, and 3 of them are commons.
The life gain cards are not good, though. We're going to see them.
All right, so can we go up to B- on a Johnny's Primate then?
Oh, so they're going, so B- is like a 3.0, I guess? Wow, their grading system's a little bit off from the 0 to 5. So yeah, I guess I would say C plus B minus, depending on if you're playing black white or not. Okay.
Scary, man.
I think that's reasonable because look at it this way: if you get one trigger out of Primate in the first 4 turns of the game, then the card's already quite good. 2 mana 3 is just a great card. That would generally be about a B.
Yep.
1 and a white 3/3, no other text would be about a B.
Right.
So this doesn't need a whole lot of help to be that.
Yeah, and it can be a lot better than that too. Yeah. So, all right, B minus for Johnny's Primate, and also we should note you're looking for life gain that is incidental rather than.
This is absolutely correct. You don't want to play bad cards that have life gain on them just because you're playing Primate.
Simply on the card that says life
Johnny's
gain.
Primate is at its best with like life linkers or cards like, well, the next card we're going to talk about, a combat trick that has a life gain attached. Not as much with like 1 mana gain 3 life. That's just not a card you want to put in your deck.
Exactly. All right, so let's take a look at that next card. Battlefield Promotion. 1 and a white for an instant at common.
All right, Battlefield Promotion. So this isn't one of my favorite cards. See, like, this has a lot of problems. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature is worth 1 mana. We know that at this point. That's pretty solidly determined. But you do need more than just a 1/1 counter for it to be worth a card, etc. But we're going to call that part of the effect worth 1 mana. So is that creature gains first strike until end of turn, you gain 2 life, worth 1 mana? And I don't think so. I don't think a +1/+1 and first strike trick is worth a mana. Like, let's just say that was like the section we're considering. We're considering a part where it says put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and we're combining a card that says target creature gets +1/+1 and first strike until end of turn. And I don't think that this other part over here, is worth a mana, and even with the life gain attached. So I'm not a big fan of Battlefield Promotion. I think it is technically playable if you're desperate, but the problem is with a lot of the non-creature cards in this format that you have to compete your non-creature cards with planeswalkers, you have to compete them with removal spells, you have to compete them with vehicles sometimes, and maybe artifacts if you're looking for help fixing. There's just not room in decks for these sorts of tricks that just aren't quite worth their mana. There's room for stuff like Giant Growth, potentially even Smooth Sprint, as we'll see later, but Battlefield Promotion is just not a good enough trick for me. I'm not a fan. D plus, C minus, somewhere in that range. I'm not really familiar with this grade scale, so let's just hear what they have to say.
Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That creature gains first strike until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. Well, they've actually packed in quite a bit into this combat trick.
Yeah,
but they really didn't.
When you win a combat with this trick, you have 2 things left over. You have a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and you got 2 extra life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes up for the fact that a 2 mana trick that gives +1/+1 of stats is generally not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad.
First strike also helps, especially when you pair it with kind of high power, low toughness creatures.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah,
okay.
It lets you win combat that you might not normally, even with the +1/+1 counter. This looks like a C. I mean, Battlefield Promotion isn't amazing, but that actually has a lot going on for a combat trick.
Yeah, and imagine casting this on Johnny's Primate. Gives it +2/+2, right?
Absolutely not. I totally disagree with everything they're saying. We've already talked about this. Like, I think my logic's pretty clear here. I think their logic is, like, look at the high roll scenario. And, like, sure, look at the high roll scenario, but was it worth 2 mana? Was it worth a non-creature slot that could have been a removal spell or a planeswalker or something along these lines, or just a better trick? So, no, I don't think so.
Wow, and first strike, yeah. So that's great. All right, so Battlefield Promotion gets a C, solid combat trick. Next is called Bond of Discipline. It's 4 and a white.
So, all right, Bond of Discipline. Now this is an interesting card because, like, we don't see tap all your opponent's shit too often, and oftentimes when we do, it's quite a good effect. The question is whether a 5 mana card that does nothing but tap your opponent's shit is good. And traditionally we've seen tap all your opponent's creatures to be worth somewhere around 2.5 mana, I want to say. Or no, sorry, 3 mana. 3 mana I think is reasonable to say. I'm thinking of cards like the 4 mana 2/2 that taps all your opponent's cries, Tempest Caller. Thinking of cards like Sleep, which is 4 mana for tap all your opponent's guys, they stay tapped for 4. I think, assuming that the most relevant part of those cards is the tapping, I think we can generously call that worth 3 mana on some pretty solid cards. So that's worth 3, let's say, and give your creatures lifelink until end of turn is not really have like it's very variable in terms of the value. Oftentimes it's not going to be worth 2 mana, we'll just say that. Combining the cards is kind of nice, it gets you that incidental aspect. This has like a very high ceiling and a very low floor. If you are trying to break a stall, if your opponent played a big planeswalker, you just want to like kill it with Bond of Discipline and just be done with it. Bond of Discipline will enable you to remove planeswalkers sometimes, which is something to really consider. It also allow you to win games out of nowhere potentially, which is really relevant. I think really the portion that you're looking for on this card is the tap your opponent's creatures. I think that the lifelink is not that relevant, especially in a format where a lot of players are going to be looked to playing late games with their planeswalkers and their late game value engines. So I think the life gain is basically irrelevant. I think you're basically overpaying by a lot for this effect. And although you can overpay for this sort of effect because it's an effect that's so big when it's good, similar to something like Trumpet Blast or something like this where it's just like, it is your trump card, you don't really care how much you pay for it. But in this case, you kind of do, because that's all it's doing. I think it's going to be not that good, but technically still playable. It's pretty hard to rate this one, honestly. I'm going to say C-. I would give it a 1.5 on the 5.0 scale, for instance, though.
For sorcery at uncommon, this is an interesting one. So it says, tap all creatures
See what they have to say.
Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn.
This is a pretty good racing card. It doesn't give your creatures any sort of stat boost, but tapping all your opponent's creatures, first of all, lets you get a bunch of damage through it, right? You basically, unless they have a removal spell, get to deal damage equal to the power of all your creatures in play. And then giving them all lifelink means,
it's not as simple as dealing damage equal to your creatures in play. On one hand it is, but then you have to worry about like leaving your own shit open. I mean, you won't have to worry about your life total, but you will have to worry about your planeswalkers that you have back or anything like this. Though I will say that it is a major consideration that lifelink actually offsets the potential for a counter alpha strike. So that's something I didn't consider.
You're probably not going to die on the backswing, so frequently what's going to happen is you're going to have some creatures, they're going to have some creatures, you're going to play Bond, hit them for like 6 or 7, and they're now, if they're not dead, at quite a low life total, and you're at a much higher life total, so they can't attack you back, and sometimes that'll put you in a pretty good position.
I still don't think that it's that good, even with that consideration, by the way. I think it's pretty mediocre. I'll bump it up to a C.
Kind of card falls short, though, when they just use removal spells on your creatures, or the game isn't a race, or you just draw too few creatures to begin with.
Right, and those are very common scenarios that happen, and the fact that this doesn't either create creatures or make your creatures better is pretty concerning to me. Also,
I love what they're talking about here, by the way. Totally agree.
What about this play pattern, the one you just mentioned? Let's say you have 8 power and your opponent has 8 power, right? And they all match up where if you attacked, it would be a bunch of trades or you would lose your guys. So you go Bond of Discipline, attack with everything. So they take a big hit, but they don't lose the game. And then you pass a turn back and they go, okay, well, now your life total is too high, so I can't attack you back profitably, so I'm just going to pass.
I hope they mention the fact that it kills planeswalkers here.
You are now back in that same situation that you were just in, right? Like your attacks didn't improve after that. You kind of had to either win the game or have the life gain be super important, or else this didn't really get you anywhere, right?
Yeah, that can
happen. Planeswalkers.
So I'm kind of down on Bond of Discipline, actually. I mean, it looks powerful, but it does have a relatively high setup cost, and I don't even know if it just wins you the game. Like, the fact that it doesn't augment your creatures at all, even temporarily, is pretty big downside here.
And if your opponent had one bounce or removal spell, it'll often throw off the calculation enough that this really isn't getting you.
I agree with what they're saying. You know, I'm kind of back down on it. But the Planeswalker thing, I wish they would at least mention it.
Where you need to be.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm off
according
of
to some
Discipline.
Very loose definitions, I guess this is a build around. So
because you need to have a creature. I'm going to say D for Bond of Discipline. I don't like it.
All right. I would give it a D plus at least, though.
About a D is right. This also looks like a pretty solid sideboard card where if the game does stall out, this is the kind of card that'll win you the game. But I don't know how much better this is than just straight up tap all your opponent's creatures, because most of the time when you cast those cards, you're looking to win the game on the spot. And the fact that you gain life means if you don't win the game, you can still cast this because you're not dead next turn. But yeah, like you said, let's say you do this, hit them down to 3. What are you doing the turn after that if you couldn't kill them?
Right. Yeah, compare this to it.
So basically, they're saying everything I said at the beginning, except I changed my mind for no particular reason. I would still give it a D+, though.
A card like Sleep, which we play sometimes, and it can be really, really powerful in the right deck.
And it tends to be overrated.
And I think this is just a lot worse than Sleep.
Yeah, it's way worse because it gives you 2 turns of unblockability, and them being tapped for an extra turn also kind of makes it very similar to life gain.
Right.
So Sleep is almost just a better version of this. Sleep
Format has a lot of planeswalkers. Please say it.
tends to be overrated. Yeah, I think D for Bond of Discipline.
Okay, next is called Bork Giant. It's 5 and a 1.
Complete trash. They don't need to spend any time on this card. The stats are just way too bad for 6 mana. Life gain isn't enough.
For a 3/6 giant soldier at common.
D-.
And when it enters a battlefield, ta-da, you gain 5 life. And by the way, the next card also has life gain. Yeah, wow, okay.
Though I will say Bork Giant and the next card, Charm Stray, aren't the best cards in the world.
Yeah, they're both mediocre.
Yeah.
See, look at that. Like, they were like, oh my god, look at all these life gain cards. And I was just like, all the life gain cards are crap. And now they're going through the cards and they're like, oh, this one's kind of bad. This one's kind of bad.
Bork Giant, this reminds me of Watchful Giant because it's the same cost and stats.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slightly better come to play ability because that was makes a 1/1 soldier. This I'd mostly rather have 5 life, especially at the stage in the game where this comes down.
Yes. And 3/6 is of course great defensive stats.
That's good
so
logic.
This is kind of if I can just get to this point, I can probably survive any type of ground assault with the life gain bump plus the 3/6 body. But still, this kind of looks like a D to me. Like a 6 mana 3/6 is not exciting at all, and the 5 life is a lot. I mean, don't underestimate that.
I mean,
but
this
I don't
is basically Thragtusk.
Yeah, okay. I would say Bulwark Giant ends up being a D as well. Like, it's not the type of card that you typically are going to be like, oh, thank God, I got the Bulwark. I opened a Bulwark Giant. Like,
no, I
might
would say
make
it's
the cut, but 6
I would
mana
say
is
it's
a lot.
more of like a D plus, just because I could see a control deck wanting like 2 of these to make up for the fact that it came out of the gates pretty slow.
Mm-hmm. And to get it caught back up and stable.
There's so many better 6-drops in this format. I disagree entirely. Especially, there are so many better 6-drops that stabilize you than this, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So D plus for Bulwark Giant. Charm Stray is white for a 1/1
Absolute trash. F. Let's move on.
cat. It's common. It has lifelink, so a 1/1 lifelink is down. But when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control named Charm Stray.
Yeah, the joke is you have a cat pack, even though cat.
Complete memes. Like, so I think I don't have to explain this too much. 1 mana 1/1 is really, really bad. 1 mana 1/1 lifelink, complete trash. When you play the second, you'll have a 2/2 lifelink, but you'll still have a 1/1 lifelink, and you'll still be down a card. So it doesn't matter how many of these you play, you're always going to be down a card. It's just fucking bad. Like, don't play it.
Cats don't really travel in packs, so it's kind of a weird flavor.
This is strange. Even if you go off, even if you went Charm Stray, Charm Stray, Charm Stray, you've got a 3/3, a 2/2, and a 1/1 with lifelink. It's funny. I'll probably try it at some point during the course of the format, but I don't
memes are real.
have Charm Stray in my deck too often. I mean, even with the Johnny's Primate, you often are only going to be able to hit once with a Stray, right?
Yeah, I think Charm Stray is probably just an F.
Probably. Now, the one thing that could save it is that there does seem to be kind of like a +1/+1 counters proliferate sub-theme going here. And if you are able to consistently get a counter on it and grow it, then lifelink gets way, way, way better.
You still discarded a card.
And it can fit it in a point in the curve where you might...
And you need to draw both of them.
So I think that's it's
There's no saving graces here, guys. Don't listen to them.
saving grace if it does become okay. But yeah, it's so low power and it requires so much commitment. If you only draw one of your 3 Charm Strays, you're just in misery.
There we go.
Oh, it has extreme meme value, but
yes,
that's not what we're grading on today. And I think Charm Stray is, again, might be a decent sideboard card. I kind of like cards like this against aggro decks that have a lot of 2/1s, for example.
Yeah, totally. So
But
D- for Charm Stray, just hanging in there. Maybe an F.
Yeah.
Defiant Strike is next. It's another combat trick.
I've never loved Defiant Strike. I think cantrips aren't actually worth a full mana, so I really want something a little bit on my cantrips to make them actually worth. Like what's important is not that a 1 mana cantrip is bad. What's important is that when you're playing a deck that has 17 lands, probably 13 to 15 creatures. This format we're probably going to talk 12 to 14 creatures. So let's say reasonably 17 land, 12 creatures. So you have 11 slots for non-creature cards. If my math is correct, seems right to me. And you have 11 slots for non-creature cards, and you really want one of them to be as low impact as Defiant Strike. I'd rather play the +1/+1 counter and First Strike, gain 2, I think. It's less efficient than Defiant Strike, but at least it has that high roll impact and has some synergy with Proliferate. I just think Defiant Strike is really not where you want to be in this format, especially when your non-creature slots are going to be dominated by removal and walkers. No place for me. And D.
White for an instant. It's
D+.
And
Fine.
it says target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and you draw a card. Ugh.
I like this more when it was in cons because there was prowess.
Mm.
The synergy with mechanics is what you want to look for, but there's anti-synergy here.
Had like a decent bit of value for a sub theme. There's not really any reward for playing cards like this in the set, except for the fact that it's just it replaces itself pretty easily.
Yeah, the downside here, of course, is that like it's trying to do an impression of like your creature gets death touch, and you draw a card. Like it's trying to make your creature big enough to trade off, because it doesn't change its toughness at all. So if it was going to die, it was going to die anyway.
I get his point,
but it doesn't do a very good job. It's only +1/+0. The fact that it draws you a card is very significant, but I just don't know if you want to be spinning your wheels like this. Now, the one thing that this very much does trigger, though, is that the red-white pair in this set has it's not called heroic, but it's like heroic. It basically rewards you.
There's only one card that has that, right? 2 cards, an uncommon and a rare.
For targeting your creature.
That's not a consideration.
That care about that. And this is a really great way to do that. You get the bonus.
It's like, sure, you open Feather, you open the heroic guy, maybe.
For whenever the creature gives you plus the +1/+0, and you get the card back anyway. So this card will go into that deck, I think, quite well, and everybody else doesn't want it.
Yeah, and there's like
not always in that deck either.
The set that give you a bonus when you cast a non-creature.
Mm-hmm. So, totally, yeah. And in red, there's some crossover there too with those. So it's probably like a D. I think Defiant Strike is a D, but there's decks where it'll be a CC plus, depending on the build. But for the most part, you don't want to prioritize such a low impact card.
You'll agree?
Yeah, agreed.
Even if it does replace itself. Divine Arrow is next.
Divine Arrow is a classic example of a pretty good removal spell. Has conditional clauses. Isn't as good when you're on the offense, but that's totally acceptable. I don't know. I'm guessing B plus is like 3.5 for like unconditional removal, and B is like the 3.0. I mean, they did give a Giants Primate at B minus. This is going to be somewhere in that B minus B range. For me, I would say B minus is probably reasonable, though I am not that great at this rating scale. So we'll see what they say.
This is 1 and a white for an instant. It's common. And it says it does 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature.
Yeah, it's
right.
I guess it was Gideon's Reproach, but that the flavor is very different now because I guess it's Gideon's Pegasus getting speared.
Oh my God, really? Oh, it says that. Gideon tumbled through the air, black blade in hand. Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah, this card was good before. It'll be good now.
Mm-hmm.
2 mana to deal 4 to a creature in combat is a good deal. So I would imagine you'll always play Divine Arrow. I guess maybe once
don't
you
play
have a
every
couple of
copy.
these, it starts becoming too much, especially if you're aggro because
once you get to the third copy,
kill their creature.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this is a card you generally can't have too many of, or at least it's not easy to get too many of. So I would put Divine Arrow at like a C plus.
Yeah, I think it's a C plus as well. And we should also mention the timing trick that you can do with this. It doesn't come up that often, but when it does, it can be really important, which is you can have your opponent attack you with multiple creatures, but let's say they have one big one that you can't block, like a 5/5 flyer. Or sorry, not a 5/5 flyer, but anything with the all right, what am I trying to say here? basically, there is a window where you can cast this after damage has happened so that you can block it, get a damage on like a 5 toughness creature, and then still cast it. And
so if you had a 1/1
Yeah.
blocking their 5/5, you wouldn't want to cast this before damage because then they would kill your creature if they had an instant.
Exactly.
What you'll let happen is damage happen, and then after damage, you divine arrow to kill their 5/5 with 1 damage on it that is still an attack.
Right, because there's.
I gotta pause and say something real fast. Marshall and LSV. LSV has always been very good at these limited ratings, but Marshall used to have some flaws. It's been a long time since I listened to limited resources because, quite frankly, back when I was listening to limited resources, they were kind of starting out to a little bit after they started, and Marshall just wasn't. His ratings were just so kind of off that I couldn't do it. He's doing a wonderful job here. I know he's done this a lot now, and I'm sorry I've missed a lot of it. Man, he's putting in the work. Like, good job, man. Like, I'm really impressed.
Step and an end combat step, in which case the creature's still designated as an attacker. Thanks for the save there, by the way. So C+ for Divine Arrow. Next is Enforcer Griffin, which is 4 and a white for a 3/4 flyer.
Used to be the case that 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer was vanilla. These days we see 5 mana for a 3/3 flash flying is not even that good, even though it seems like it should be good. We've seen that with Spire Monitor, etc. So 5 mana 3/4 flyer is not great in terms of the body on its own, but now is a pretty good time to bring up that flyers have some extra value in this format because they scale really well with +1/+1 counters, and there's a lot of things that put +1/+1 counters on them. So I think Enforcer Griffin's a little bit better than it looks, but it looks like complete trash. So really we're looking at somewhere like C-, I think, reasonably. Whereas normally I would give this something closer to a D+.
It's common.
This is just going to be a C.
Yeah,
I think
this is a rock solid. I mean,
right.
these stats are very solid, and they're never.
I disagree that the stats are very solid. Actually, I think that these days they're kind of bad. We see flyers that just have better abilities kind of fall by the wayside. I think the body's bad. I think what redeems it is the +1/+1 counters.
Exciting, right? You're never like, oh my god, but like for 5 mana 3/4 flyers, exactly what you get these days. So C for Enforcer Griffin, and don't be ashamed to play it. It's a fine card. Let's see next.
Be a little ashamed to play it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I wouldn't play more than one, and I wouldn't be happy to play the first. In a 5.0 rating scale, I would give it a 2.0.
Is Gideon's Sacrifice. This is white for an
F. It's really bad. It's not worth a card.
instant at common. Choose a creature or planeswalker you control. All damage that would be dealt this turn.
Imagine it's worse than Fog, right? Like, I guess it's cute that your shit still deals damage, but like, I have to be careful because Safe Passage was a tricky fucking card. It just slipped in there. I was secretly, like, low-key very good. But Gideon's Sacrifice still seems to me like not worth a card.
To you,
I'm still going to give it an F.
Permanent you control is dealt to the chosen permanent instead.
Seems like it's a very situational.
This card can have some pretty neat implications.
It has blowout potential, right?
Right. They attack.
See, the blow-up potential is you need like 4 different blocks going on, right? Like, and 4 different trades going on. And then you can justify the 2-for-1 on yourself because this is going to cost a card. But you really need a ton of combat, and it's just not good.
Attack you with 3 creatures, and you're like, okay, block, so there's going to be a trade. Block, so there's going to be a trade. Chump with my last creature or whatever. Getting Sacrifice on my smallest creature. All of a sudden, you kind of like made a 2-for-2.
This is probably the best and most common case scenario.
This card takes a little bit of work. It's powerful insofar as it can stop a whole combat worth of attacks.
But then Fog is just
plus one of your creatures. But
that is a steep cost.
Yeah, maneuvering the board such that this becomes great is not going to happen very often. And I feel like you're almost always going to be able to have access to one of these if you want it, because no one's ever going to want more than one of these. Most people are going to want 0.
Yeah, also there is a note on the card that says if it's still on the battlefield regarding that permanent that you chose. That's also another thing, is that they can interact with this. And like in kind of an awkward way too. Like they can let you go to blocks, and then you can say, okay, Gideons Sacrifice, and then they kill or bounce your creature, and it's like, well, all those blocks are happening the way I didn't want them to. So
though, note that like if you Gideons Sacrifice a 1/1 and it blocks something, the damage all happens at once, so that does work.
You mean so that the 1/1 will still do the damage? You mean, or
like if you block with a 5/5 with a 1/1, that you make your blocks, and then
exactly
they kill
right.
your thing.
Yeah. Now, so we're gonna go F on Gideons Sacrifice. Next is Gideons Triumph.
This is a card that's kind of unique. I've thought about it a lot, and in the end, I'm actually a bit high on it. Diabolic Edict kind of falls off in terms of its impact, because your opponent's going to always have a worse creature, and as the game goes longer and they draw more cards, they're going to be playing out worse and worse. Well, they'll have a worse creature that has like no impact. Creatures fall off in terms of impact, so edicts scale pretty poorly. However, if your opponent is attacking or blocking with a creature, that means it is a relevant creature on the board, and that is a really, really big difference. And that makes up for the fact that this is a double conditional clause, that your opponent both has to attack or block with a creature, and they get to choose which creature they attack or block with that they get to sacrifice. I think the fact that it always hits something relevant keeps it up with Edict, despite the fact that it may look worse. I think it will play just as fine. Again, I'm not sure how to rate on their scale. I give it a 3.0 usually. On their scale, that's probably like a B- or a C+.
This is an uncommon. It's 1 and a white for an instant. Target opponent sacrifices
Still not clear
a creature
on the
that
rating.
attacked or blocked this turn. If you control a Gideon Planeswalker, that player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead.
And you know what's great is in this set, a lot of the Planeswalker text is less of a throwaway than it used to be, just because. There's a lot more Planeswalkers. Of course, in terms of Gideons, I guess there's just the mythic.
Okay, let's be real. All the triumphs, if you have that walker out, you've probably already won. Gideon might be one of the only exceptions, Nissa as well, but those should still be winning you the game the majority of the time. So actually Chandra is probably the most reasonable exception, because she's like an Outpost Siege, except... Oh, she's kind of just like Outpost Siege. So Chandra's Triumph, I think, has the most relevant Triumph text, because the other one's just like Gideon, it's just going to win you the game, like you don't really need it, whatever.
Gideon, but look for other Planeswalkers that may show up at lower rarities.
Yeah, or cards that care about Planeswalkers that aren't necessarily the specific one.
Yeah, I guess the Triumphs are less good, because I think all the Triumphs correspond to higher rarity Planeswalkers, but there are cards that say Planeswalkers on them that will definitely come up more. That's one of the implications of this set.
And we will be talking about a lot of Planeswalkers in this review, by the way. All the uncommon ones.
Yes, the first time we've talked about Planeswalkers in uncommon review.
And a lot of them are probably going to be overrated. I hope they don't give Opnixos a good rating.
Kind of cool. So
Gideon's Triumph is not horrible, because one of the things that makes edicts, so cards that make your opponent choose and
Please tell me he's going to say what I said.
sacrifice a creature. One of the things that makes those cards generally worse than limited is your opponent often has junky 1/1s or 2/2s lying around. But in the case of Gideon's Triumph, it only works if they can only sacrifice creatures that attacked or blocked, and often they're just not going to attack with their 1/1.
Yeah! Good man, LSP.
Right? They have a 5/5 and a 1/1 out. They can't really attack with their 1/1 into your 2/2, so they just attack with the 5/5, and then you get to triumph them.
Right. Oh, I feel so good that we agree on that.
So a couple of questions here. First, once it's declared as an attacker, it has attacked this turn, right? So if they just go attack you with my 5/5, I can just be like Gideon's Triumph, and then they have to sack it if that's the only creature that's attacking. But it also says attacked or blocked this turn. So does that mean I can do it like later in
post combat?
Like,
yeah.
If they attack me with their 5/5, I say I take 5. I go to my second main phase. I draw a card. Oh, it's Gideon's Triumph. Now I can cast it on and say, well, that attacked this turn, so it's dead?
Yep.
Yeah, so one of the things like that corresponds to the trick you talked about with Gideon's Reproach or whatever it's called now, piercing arrow, divine arrow, is they attack with a 5/5 and a 2/2, and you have a 2/2. You can block their 2/2, trade, and then cast Gideon's Triumph after the trade has occurred.
Okay.
I'm a big fan.
Even if it's in your second main, you don't have to do the thing where you're like, well, I'm still in combat and it's still declared.
No, you no longer even have to do that. So you can, let's say they attack you with a 5/5 and a 2/2. You trade off 2/2s. You can also just hold Gideon's Triumph and end of turn cast it so they can play the rest of their turn not knowing they're going to end up losing their 5/5.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, this card seems good to me. Yeah, it seems totally solid to me.
No, I think be aware of the timing rules, or be aware that you can cast this like after damage, because it is good to know that, there's often going to be combats where you're going to want things to trade off, then you're going to cast Gideon's Triumph. Also, sometimes they're going to attack you. You're going to want to cast this before blocks and then choose what to block. Because imagine you're at 2, they have 3 attackers, you have 2 blockers. You want to cast this, then block the 2 creatures they leave in play.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it does get tricky because, I mean, the thing that we haven't really hammered on here is that they do get to choose. So, if they go attack you with 3 2/2s, and you say Gideon's Triumph, well, they can just choose whichever one. But if they say attack you with 2 3/3s and a 1/1, and you say Gideon's Triumph, they can just sack the 1/1.
Right.
That's why you block kill the 1/1 first.
So that is a downside, right? Depending on what the board state looks like.
Also, keep this card in mind. There's going to be times when if your opponent's at a low life total, you might want to throw in an attacker that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes.
Because you really want to have some cannon fodder in there.
Yeah. And what that lets you do is get the damage from the bigger creatures in, because even if your small creature gets blocked and dies, you may lose one of your bigger creatures, but they will have done their damage first.
Right.
Okay, so what do we give Gideon's Triumph? I mean, I'm not in love, but it seems solid. C?
Yeah. I think
is it better than that?
Probably like a C+.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
they do have to use their creatures that you want to kill.
I'm kind of getting a hang for their rating system.
It's not negated by them having random like amass tokens, because they're just going to have to risk those in combat for them to block this.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that's just not going to happen all that often. So, like, if they have like a 3/4 flyer hitting you, you can just cast this and kill it, because they just couldn't attack their 1 on ground creature.
Mm-hmm. One other thing we should note is that since it is blocked this turn as well, if you attack with the creature and they say, "Okay, I'll block it with my 5/5," you should cast this before damage, right? Because you can get it and keep your creature alive. So just
a lot of tricky stuff with this,
yeah,
but once you get used to it, I think you'll be able to use it nicely.
Okay, next is Grateful Apparition. This is 1 and a white for a 1.
Wonderful Magic card. B plus, is that their 3.5? Yeah. If you guys haven't had the experience of putting a +1/+1 counter on a card like this, like Thrumming Bird, you're in for a treat. Put a +1/+1 counter on this, you swing, deal the damage, proliferate its own counter, suddenly it's a 3/3 flyer, it's a 4/4 flyer, a 5/5 flyer, it gets ridiculous. You don't even need a counter on it. It's already doing a lot of work as an evasive thing that just enables proliferate. A wonderful card. It's similar to Pegasus Courser out of the set that had Mentor. It was just Guilds of Ravnica, right? Where it was better than usual because it had synergy with mechanics that are going on in the format. And Graceful Apparition is just so good. If they don't give it at least a B, I'm going to have to disagree, quite frankly. I don't know the difference between B and B plus quite yet, but this deserves at least a B.
1 flyer. It's uncommon, it's a spirit, and it says whenever it deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, proliferate. And this is our first instance of proliferate, so I'll read the reminder text for it. Choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each another counter for each kind already there. So the way that this plays out for the most part in this set, it seems, are +1/+1 counters on your creatures and loyalty counters on your planeswalkers. And, if you hit with Grateful Apparition and you have a single +1/+1 counter on one of your creatures, you get to add another one to that. It starts to grow pretty quickly. And if
you have a +1/+1 counter to Grateful Apparition.
You have multiples. Proliferate says you can choose any. You can choose all of the ones you have. You can even do, if they're some type of detrimental counter on an opposing permanent, you can bump those up as well. This is a kind of build-around style card, right?
Not really. Most of the decks of the format will be using it.
You wouldn't play it on its own. But if you have good ways to put especially multiple +1/+1 counters on your creatures, this Apparition can get out of hand.
Yeah, and there are multiple ways at common in white. You're not looking at other colors that deal with +1/+1 counters. Plus, you've got your uncommon planeswalkers as well. There's a couple of those. So proliferating is a very real thing.
It is, yeah. The fact that this thing's a 1/1 is a little annoying because any
The fact is flying is more important.
flyer blocks it, so that's tough. But boy, if you get
Until you put a counter on it and start proliferating itself.
1 or 2 activations off of Grateful Apparition, the thing can just take over the game. I mean, seriously, if you have 2 creatures with +1/+1 counters and you hit with Apparition, like your opponent can't just keep taking hits. They're going to take 2 hits and your creatures are going to be too big to deal with at some point. So I kind of
Please, LSV, tell them about putting a counter on it.
like it. Also, it is a 1/1 flyer. It threatens planeswalkers at least a little bit. Just if you play this and they're turn 3, they're planning on running out some uncommon planeswalker or whatever, at least you have some way to get a little bit of damage in. Maybe you can put a counter on it. Maybe you can do a combat trick or something, but it gives you some options. So I like it. I like it as a build around like B. I think it's the type of card that like in a full on like white green.
If his description is a B, this deserves a B+.
Proliferate +1/+1 counter deck. This card's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think Great Proliferation. I'd probably give it. Yeah, I'd probably give it a B. It's just very threatening.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to play this on turn 2, and your opponent's just going to live in fear that you're going to have like something like Teo's Light Shields, the 3-mana 0/3 that puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control when you play it. And if you just that curve leaves you with a 3/3 flyer and play on turn 3.
Right. And things get out of hand quickly from there, especially if you can get a big board built out. So build around B for Grateful Apparition. Next is Ironclad Crow.
It's better than Pillowfield Docks, but that's like saying it's better than a turd. So, I mean, this has some implications with Hilati in particular, but past that, I'm not a fan. I just don't see a need for a card like this. It's just bad filler. But it is a big bud, and you can board it in sometimes. D+.
This is 3 and a white for a 2/5 beast at common. This is just a D. Nothing much to say. It's just got flavor text. So
5 is bigger than usual. D+.
D for Ironclad Crow. Next is La Rune Enforcer. This is
Wonderful card. B- or B? Again,
probably
not
one of
too
the
familiar.
premium white commons. It's white for a 1/2 human soldier. As I mentioned, it's a common.
It doesn't tap the amass token, and that's a real consideration.
You can pay 1 and tap it to tap target creature with converted mana cost 2 or greater, which is almost everything.
Yeah, like when I first saw this card, I'm like, okay, yeah, another dork that taps small. Well, wait. That does not tap small creatures.
Yeah.
That taps big creatures.
Yeah, and it does even tap small. I mean, it taps 2 drops or up. Like, what else? For us,
The amass token.
Yeah, note that it misses the amass token, the army. Because those could get pretty big in this set.
It also misses other La Rune Enforcers, so you don't have to.
Thank Jesus. Holy shit. Tappers tapping each other is such a pain in the ass.
Yes, which actually is nice, because that whole game is so stupid.
Yes, yeah, it is.
I played with Master Decode before.
Yes,
and,
it's like tap that.
Everybody has.
Yeah, it's stupid. Card seems really powerful.
This is great. I mean, there's slight diminishing returns where if you have 3
That's
of
true.
these, you're starting to feel the pain of having to pay a mana every turn. But I think I would definitely be happy to have 2. I'd probably be happy to put 3 in my deck, honestly. It's just such a good card. Like, the rate is really high on this.
Right, I think so too. I think La Rune Enforcer is going to end up being one of the premium white commons and probably be like a B-.
Yeah, I like La Rune Enforcer. I might just like it a B, honestly.
Yeah, we'll give it a
This
B.
card just looks great to me.
Yeah.
It will have, like I said, it will be
The diminishing returns is why I gave it a B-.
a little weak against amass. So if someone has like a deck that's really looking to make this like 5/5 zombie armies, then La Rune Enforcer is going to fall a little short. But against almost every other deck, it's just this locks down their biggest creature. And, tappers haven't usually been this good recently. So
That's so
some of
true.
the common play patterns is like end of turn tap for creature, untap, tap your other creature so you can attack. So every other turn you get to tap down 2 blockers essentially.
Hashtag make tappers great again.
And so if you're on the offense, that's very powerful. You also, obviously can just stop their biggest creature from attacking every turn, and that works out pretty nicely too.
And it scales with the game, of course, is one of the big upsides to these type of cards. So.
Yeah, they're not even that great in the first couple turns. You don't really want to spend the mana, but once you hit turn 5 or so, you usually have an extra mana, and locking down the best creature that's currently in play is very good. And like you said, that creature keeps getting better as they play better creatures, and this deals well.
That's right. So B for Law Rune Enforcer, nice little common there. Next is Loxodon Sergeant, 3 and
C minus. These days, the vanilla test is 4 mana 4/3. I really hope they don't say it passes the vanilla test because it doesn't anymore. Summit Prowler is the new vanilla. So you're trading 1 power for Vigilance and this ability. This ability is really situationally dependent on your board, and the Vigilance isn't always that great even if your board is wide because you don't necessarily get value out of preventing your opponent from attacking you depending on their board. So this is just a lot of situational shit, and you're trading a power, and that's just not that good. Yeah, Hill Giant is past its prime, and it's a trade-off that looks like it might be worth it, but it just isn't.
a white for a 3/3 Elephant Soldier at common. It has Vigilance, so 3/3 for 4 with Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control gain Vigilance until end of turn.
Where's the +1/+1 in Vigilance?
Womp. Yeah, that's what I was looking for too. This card seems very medium to me. D plus Loxodon Sergeant, maybe D.
I think D plus is okay.
D plus, I'll agree.
Yeah, you're really not going to play this very often, though.
Right. D plus for Loxodon Sergeant, just not the type of thing that you want to see. You really want it to pump your team. Makeshift Battalion is next. It's 2 and a white for.
Is this a C? I mean, it's not great, but it passes the technical test, and the synergy is kind of nice. You can give it flying with the Pegasus, which we'll see later, which is actually really relevant, because if you can give this flying and start putting counters on it, that's so big for the aggro deck. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be a relevant enough interaction that this is going to be very important for your aggressive white decks. And even on its own, if it just can do it once and it's kind of self-contained, all it requires is having a board, unlike a Johnny's Primate, which requires specific interactions. Turning this into a Summit Prowler is a pretty big deal, especially with Proliferate.
For a 3/2 Human Soldier, at common, whenever Makeshift Battalion and at least 2 other creatures attack,
but it is a bit difficult to attack with 3 creatures.
+1/+1 counter on Makeshift Battalion.
See, it's a joke because Battalion's the Boros keyword that was when 3 creatures
Ha
attack.
ha ha.
Oh, cute.
Wait, did he not see that? Okay, whatever.
You're right. Look at that. That's good though, right? I mean, this thing is like we tend to not like 3/2s because they trade down, and if you can kind of assemble a little squad here, then this one doesn't.
Yeah, you get some nice squad goals, and you attack with like a Grateful Apparition, this, and some other dork at the end of combat. If it
Some other dork being the thing that gives it flying.
lives, you get like a 5/4.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
this seems like a
Battalion
C,
well enough.
right? I mean, it's just a C, right? Makeshift Battalion's not some insane build.
It's a C. It's a
I'm getting a better hang of their rating system.
card you'll want a lot of like creatures in your deck to play this card. I wouldn't call it a build around because that wouldn't really make much sense. But I think it's just a solid C.
All right, C for Makeshift Battalion. Moving on, Martyr for the Cause, which is exactly what I feel like.
I don't love Martyr for the Cause, which might sound strange because it looks pretty great. But the thing is, your opponent has a lot of control over when Martyr the Cause is going to die, because it's not like you have a great way necessarily to sacrifice it unless you're playing black-white with Spark Harvest. That's really the biggest way I can think of. There's a couple red-white ways to sacrifice it, which is kind of cute. And that does add a lot of value to it, but a lot of the times your opponent is going to be able to block and determine whether or not you can lose Martyr of the Cause. You could also have it just be a 2-mana 2/2 in certain circumstances, and quite frequently actually it's just going to be a 2-mana 2/2 with no text, because you're not going to have counters out. I think it's going to be good, but I think it's just going to be a pretty decent 2-drop. I don't think it's going to be like a premium 2-drop. Unlike something like Graceful Apparition, which you have way more control over, it proliferates multiple times, etc. Martyr for the Cause is just, and again, I don't love 2-mana 2/2s in this format, especially with a lot of 1/3s going around. I'm going to say a C as well. Fits at a better spot in the curve from Makeshift Battalion, but Battalion's better in terms of power.
Right now is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier at common. When it dies, proliferate. So again, you can bump the counters on all your stuff or even the other ones.
This is just going to end up being like a C-, mainly on the back of being a 2-mana 2/2.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'll agree. I was a little hesitant to do C-, but they're right.
If you need a 2-mana 2/2 in your deck, this is a fine place to to go. But the thing is, you're not going to be able to time the proliferate very, very often, and there's no real recurring advantage like with the Grateful Apparition. So I think Martyr for the Cause is just medium. It's not great.
100% agree.
Yeah, I like C- for Martyr for the Cause.
Yeah, that seems fine. And we need to see some more counters, by the way. We haven't really gotten that part of it yet. We've seen a few proliferate.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Pouncing Lynx is the next card. It's 1.
So the idea behind this card is that you want to put counters on it, but my problem with that is that there are better things to put counters on in white already, even for aggressive decks. You're looking at War Screecher, I want to say, the 2-mana 1/3 flyer that has the 6-mana activated ability. I'd much rather put a counter on that than Pouncing Lynx, quite frankly. And the body on its own interacts very poorly with 1/3s and 1/4s, of which there are actually quite a few in the format, as well as some 0/3s in the format that are just incidentally there. I'm not a big fan of Pouncing Lynx. I think it's a C-. Like, if you really want a 2-drop, it can do work, and sometimes it high rolls, but overall, not a fan. Maybe D+. Again, the difference between these slight lighter grades is pretty significant. I think C-.
1 and a white for a cat. It's common. It's a 2/1, and it says, as long as it's your turn, it has first strike.
Yeah, this thing is pretty quick on the draw. It's a good attacker. It's Fresh-Faced Recruit, right, from Guild of Ravnica.
Difference is Fresh-Faced Recruit didn't have to deal with an army of 1/3s and 1/4s. And that's a really big difference. And also, the mentor mechanic made it very easy to get counters on it. While Pouncing Lynx can very easily get counters, I think it's better to put counters on flyers than it is to put counters on this. So,
and which was a great card, and I think Pouncing Lynx is just going to be probably a C+ in the aggressive white decks, a C elsewise.
I agree. Also,
I disagree. I think there are way more things that interact very favorably with this.
We were talking about how we expect the creatures to get augmented. They're going to get counters and they're going to grow. And this one really benefits from that as well. Even just one more power on a Pouncing Lynx, given that first strike when it's your turn is really good.
So we'll get back to this. I'll bring this up again. Don't forget, Pouncing Lynx, when I talk about War Screecher, I'm going to come back and say I would rather put a counter on this.
So. Yes, first strike really does scale well with counters.
Yeah, exactly. So Pouncing Lynx.
Flying scales better.
Gets a C+. Next is probably one of the best uncommons out of white, Prison Realm. It's 2 and a white for an enchant.
3.5, which is probably a B or a B+. I think B is way more reasonable. But
again, uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, you exile target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls until Prison Realm leaves the battlefield. And when it enters the battlefield, you scry one as well.
So basically, you give up the ability to hit artifacts or enchantments off Banishing Light, and in exchange, you get scry one. That is a great
similar to Jaya's Greeting and Lightning Strike
deal for limited.
Yeah, it really
because
is.
Most of the time you're going to hit a creature, and in this set, Planeswalker is actually a pretty relevant type too.
Yep.
And then getting to scry one, especially in the mid or late game, is really, really strong. When lands basically are dead, scry one becomes very, very powerful. So I think Prison Realm, probably a B+. I don't think I'd quite give it an A-, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's their B+, then Graceful Apparition definitely deserves a B+. And Prison Realm, sure.
I like B+ for Prison Realm as well. Just deals with the stuff you need dealt with. Rally of Wings is next. It's 1.
Man, this is a difficult fucking card to rate. Because it goes very high in terms of how good it is and how good it isn't. Savage Surge is the card you think of when you think of doing this for one flyer out, which is really the bar you'd like to set. And Savage Surge is actually a pretty good trick. And this is better than Savage Surge because it untaps all your creatures and gives one creature +2/+2. If you have 2 out, this card is obviously ridiculous. But really, you need 1 out for this to be where you want it to be. And that assumes that you have probably about 5 to 6 flyers in your deck. And if you do, I'm perfectly fine playing Rally of Wings. I actually think that most white decks are going to get there. They're going to have options between, there's the common Pegasus that we're going to get to, there's the Graceful Aberration, there's War Screecher, there's things coming out of blue and other colors that have flying as well that could help synergize with this, but I think white on its own will generally be able to provide about the amount of flyers you need for Rally of Wings. So I am a fan. I am a pretty big fan. Though on certain boards, again, it doesn't do anything, so got to cap the rating here. I think I'm going to give it a C+. I think it's going to surprise people in terms of it actually being good. I think that it's very easy to dismiss this on rating scales without thinking about the good white creatures, especially since they haven't gotten to some of them yet, and just the comparison to Savage Surge, a perfectly good combat trick.
On a white for an instant, it's uncommon. It says untap all creatures you control. Okay, sure. And then it says creatures you control with flying get +2/+2 until end of turn.
Yeah, you need a pretty specific deck to put this in.
Savage Surge.
I mean, it's like a build around like C, where
right. I mean, because you wouldn't play this right without creatures with fly. Like untapped creatures you control is just not even close.
No, that's not
of course.
Right. My gut is saying you would need like 7 or 8 flyers.
See, his gut is saying that you need 2 out reasonably. And 1 out is not enough for this card. But my gut is saying 1 out is perfectly enough for this card.
Seriously, I mean...
Which just doesn't really happen. So this is probably like a build around D, where if this card does make your deck, it probably means your deck's great.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, what I would want to see is a bunch of like tokens, like token flyers, but I don't think there's many of those around. So Rally of Wings gets a build around D. It doesn't seem very good.
Again, I think it's going to surprise him.
Rising Populace is next. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2.
C-, I think, is the rating here. I mean, it's just sometimes you play it, but you're never that happy with it, and it's never that good, but it's filler.
Few-minute common. Whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter.
This is a much gentler flavor than Village Cannibals from Innistrad.
Remember that one, yeah. These ones are peacefully protesting or maybe doing some type of like march, grief march. The other ones were like hovering over your casket or whatever. Look, we talked about getting the counters. Here's one that will sort of pick up these counters incidentally.
I don't think it makes it that much better.
Having to play a 2/2 for 3 mana.
Yeah, and it fits into those like kind of black-white sacrifice-ish theme where you're looking to, just keep triggering this and having tokens die and stuff like that.
Rising Populace seems like a C to me. Like this is fine. I'm sure that you'll be able to go off at some point, but I don't know. I just wouldn't really count on it. And plus, the fact that your opponent will have a pretty strong window normally to kill it if they think that it's going to be a really important card, makes it a little weaker to me that it starts out so small.
Yeah, I think C for Rising Populace is appropriate.
Sure.
In a creature-heavy deck, this card is a threat, but there's a lot of things that can kill.
The idea of a black-white deck with Spark Harvest, Martyr for the Cause, and Rising Populace is kind of interesting to me. But again, I don't think it puts it above a C. I think they're fine with that.
Before it gets out of control.
I don't love this sort of card, so I give it a C- just because it's not the sort of card I think is very good, especially when you're dealing with Thirst and Pyrohelix. Again, 2 toughness is kind of a liability. So
I heard you like keywords.
Sunblade Angel.
Is 5
B. Very solid B. I love this card.
No white for a 3/3 at uncommon. Creature type, Angel. It's got flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink.
I think this card's pretty sweet.
It's really sweet.
It is technically overcosted for what it does by a little bit. And then you put a counter on it, it goes fucking nuts.
It dies to some common removal, which is the biggest drawback, because a 6 mana 3/3 with no real protection from removal is a little vulnerable. But if this lives for one turn, you're getting a lot of value. And there's a lot of boards where when you play this, your opponent's not going to be able to attack you.
Right. And this is probably, like, without going for like unblockable or indestructible or some of the things that you don't see very often, this is probably the optimal set of abilities for limited, because it has evasion. The best.
You could swap out the Vigilance. The lifelink and the Vigilance is a bit redundant, let's be honest. Flying Vigilance, Flying Lifelink, those are classic combos for a reason. They make it difficult to race. The Vigilance and Lifelink is just a bit overkill. If I had to choose 4 mechanics, and I wasn't choosing things like Hexproof, or Double Strike, or Protection, stuff like this, Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, and what else is there? Haste is reasonable. I'm trying to think of other mechanics. Obviously don't want trample. Of the evergreen mechanics, I would like to swap out Vigilance or Lifelink for Hexproof if I could, or Haste, I guess, because it's the only one that's coming to mind. Oh.
Form of evasion, realistically, which is flying. First Strike makes it an absolute nightmare to attack into. Vigilance means that you get to block with it, and Lifelink means that as long as it's on the battlefield, your opponent's going to have an extremely difficult time racing you. So it really strong.
You're generating a lot of value if this thing survives.
And then, of course, what better place to put a +1/+1 counter than Sunblade Angel?
No better place.
Right?
I mean, a couple
this
better
thing up and
places,
the game just ends.
Yeah. So the question is, I think this is better than a 6 mana 4/4 no text. Certainly is. It's probably better than a 6 mana 4/4 flyer still. The question is a 6 mana 5/5 flyer better than this? And I think that's like.
It's up for debate. I think the 6 mana 5/5 flyer is better in a vacuum. But you can make an argument.
Like pretty close.
It's close-ish, probably so. I'd probably rather have the 5/5, but it's not that. And again, a 1/1/1 counter on this is so much better.
Well, yes, the counters again scale really nicely when you're getting like lifelink benefits.
Right.
But the other thing, the 6 mana 5/5 flyer is a solid uncommon. So
Yeah, of course.
I think that Sunblade Angel is going to end up being like a C+.
Yeah, it might even be a B-. Look, this color is meant.
I like it better than them, I think.
To augment these cards. I mean, that's what it does. So if you get to untap with it and put a counter on it or just do anything, it's just going to run away. I would go B- on Sunblade Angel. I'm willing to pay.
Then again, I'm also playing like Rally of Wings more than them too.
The upfront cost to get the upside. Plus, if they don't have an answer, it just, even on a normal board, it makes it really hard for them to attack. All this.
All right, so we're at flyer count. Graceful Apparition, Sunblade Angel. We're at 2.
Small creatures get blanked immediately.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be matchups where you're going to want to board this out, like if they have multiple DL3s, for example. But for the most part, I think this is going to be a good way to kind of like top off your curve.
All right, so C plus B minus for Sunblade Angel. Next is Teo the Shield Mage. All right.
Okay, now we get to talk about one of the cards that's probably going to be overrated for most people in this format. Teo has some real problems with him. And his real problems start and end at he doesn't really do anything to win you the game or get you board control. 0/3s don't really impact the board in any significant way. That said, they don't impact the board in the 0 way. And I mean, this blanks Liliana's defeat, I think. Or Gideon's defeat, one of the two. Or triumph. Blanks one of the 2 triumphs, I can't remember which one. Doesn't really blank a ton of things. It blanks a little bit, though. Davriel, I think. The 0/3s can be used to block for your other walkers. I'm going so far back and forth on this, it's like a freaking roller coaster. Like, I've kind of resolved it to like something in their range of C plus to C. It's hard to entirely dismiss it, but I don't think it's that good. And frankly, I could see it being not that good, like ever. But I'm gonna say it's playable, but not exciting.
Right, our first uncommon planeswalker ever. Teo. One day, Teo. 2 and a white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, Teo. Uncommon. And this is going to be the setup for all of these uncommon ones, I believe all of them, which is that they have a static ability and then a planeswalker loyalty ability. Static ability is you have hexproof. That means
Sweet.
you, the player, have hexproof. Okay, fine. Not a high value thing, though, in limited. It's not that often that they actually target you. You'll take it, but whatever. And then -2 off of
He's absolutely correct with everything there.
5 loyalty to create an 0/3 white wall creature token with Defender. So the play pattern is play Teo, minus it, you get an 0/3. Next turn, minus it, you have another 0/3, and you have 1 loyalty. That's if you're just, kind of pedal to the metal with Teo.
Yeah, if you're playing against Burn, you can play Teo, then cruise to victory. But I think most of the time,
This kind of stinks.
yeah, you're just not going to get enough out of this because you getting hexproof in limited is basically irrelevant.
Right.
There's just not very many cards where that matters.
Davriel's Shadowfuge. I think Gideon's Triumph is the one that targets a player. There's the Lava Axe, I guess, but that's not really that relevant. Those are the big ones. It's not enough value. I agree.
And making an 0/3 white wall is, well, as we saw in Game of Thrones, not very effective long term.
But it's above 0 value, so I'm not going to say it's unplayable.
Whoa. Okay.
Does that count as a spoiler for like last season? I don't think that counts as a spoiler. I think that statute of limitations that gets me off the hook, right?
I think it does. It is obscure.
Sure, I'll
so
say.
it might not even. D, like this card's just not exciting. Like it's cool that we have an uncommon planeswalker, but there's other ones that actually do more relevant things.
I would actually just go ahead and say this is like a sideboard C, where
Okay.
I'll agree. Sideboard C seems right.
I would basically never main deck this unless I really needed to make a bunch of tokens for some reason, and I would only side it in against like a deck full of 2-power aggressive creatures and maybe even burn spells.
Yeah. All right. So sideboard grade for Teo.
How good would a card be if it was 3 mana, make 2 0/3 walls, and you have hexproof the
Not that
entire
good.
rest of the game?
Yeah, still not very good.
The thing is, if you have enough repeated sources of proliferate, like Evolution, Sage, and Graceful Operation, these walls are not incredibly irrelevant, especially if you have other walkers out, because it can allow them to kind of function. But he's right that on paper it's just really kind of bad, and frankly I agree with everything they're saying so far. I don't think the things I'm saying justify any real change to the rating here.
It's just,
Not that
it's just
great,
low
right?
impact. Yeah, it's just low impact. Yeah. No,
He will completely butt-fuck aggro decks though, so...
0/3 walls aren't really great either. 0/4s, those actually hold things back, but 0/3s don't last that long. All right, so sideboard grade for Teo, the Shield Mage. Next is Teo's Light Shield. This is 2 and a...
C or C minus. I mean, he has a good amount of synergy. Horn Turtle is kind of fallen off. I've talked about this a few times in some other videos, because Summit Prowler 4/3 has become the new vanilla test for 4 mana cards, whereas it used to be 3/3 and 1/4s would hold off 4 drops. That said, the 1/1 counter can go on a flyer. It can go on a lot of things that give this extra value. And the 0/3 body can be used to chump for a walker for a turn. It turns on your proliferate. It has good synergy. I think it's just going to be a decent enough card.
White for an 0/3 illusion.
And don't forget Graceful Operation into Teos.
And it's common. And when it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
This is another build around where this card doesn't look like a build around because it's just a dorky wall that can.
The build around is play flyers, and white has a shit ton of flyers.
But it's not a
I guess
wall.
it's not technically a wall
Right.
because it can pump itself. It is.
Yeah.
It is technically a 3-mana 1/4, but I think that when you have proliferate, it becomes much better. I guess this is passable by itself. 3-mana 1/4s are a little below the curve these days. I used to love the Horn Turtle.
Horn Turtle action, yeah.
But this
Again, the change in vanilla test is what changed the love for Horn Turtle.
is better because you can also just put it on a random flyer and just get more of a benefit. But when it really pops off is when you have like multiple proliferate cards, and then you're getting, because if this gave you 2+ most encounters, the card would be great.
Right, it'd be insane, yeah.
It doesn't need a whole lot more than that. I would still say Tails Light Shield, even if you're not going to give it a build run, it's probably like a C- or a C.
I give it a C. Yeah, Tails. I mean, look, we need ways to get
Literally just said everything I said. Okay, sounds good.
the proliferate train rolling.
Didn't watch it. You guys already know that.
And this one seems like a fine way to do it.
Yeah, sure thing.
C for Tails Light Shield. Next is Topple the Statue.
D plus. There are times where boarding this in makes a lot of sense. Mainly thinking about Parhelion 2 and some other vehicles. Though I don't think people will generally be playing vehicles because of their non-creature slots being pretty occupied. Sometimes you can board this in against aggro in very narrow circumstances, but usually you don't. Maybe just D is better, but I kind of like the vehicle interaction there.
This is 2 and a white for an instant, a common. Tap target permanent. If it's an artifact, destroy it. Draw a card.
So this is a way. Look, here's our future best of oneselves thinking. Aha! Here's a way to put artifact removal in my main deck.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is what this is, isn't it?
But the only artifacts you care about removing are vehicles.
Given that we're mostly going to be talking about best of 3, this is still just a sideboard card because 2 and a white tap a permanent draw card is not that exciting, and there's really not very many artifacts in this set at all.
Right.
So, Topple the Statue is like a sideboard C where you board it in if they have an artifact or 2. Even if they had 1 artifact, I'd probably board this in because the fact that you can cycle this against non-artifacts is pretty nice.
Yeah. All right, Topple the Statue. We'll keep the statue intact for now. That brings us to Trusted Pegasus, 2 and a white.
Wonderful. Okay, flyer number 3 and the first real common flyer. This is Pegasus Courser with better stats because 1/3 flyer is worse than 2/2 flyer. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful card. Again, now we have 3 flyers for our Rally of Wings. We have a wonderful thing to put +1/+1 counters on, as well as being able to attack with our Makeshift Battalion. I've been talking about this card all up till now. This is going to be the linchpin card of the white aggro decks. And the white aggro decks are going to want as many of these as they can get. B+ for the aggro decks and a B for normal decks.
White for a 2/2 with flying. It's common, and whenever it attacks target attacking creature without flying, gains flying until end of turn.
And think about Rally of Wings with just Trusted Pegasus. Suddenly, Rally of Wings, you attack with your Trusted Pegasus and 1 other creature. That's 2 creatures with flying. You can rally with 2 creatures out with just having a Trusted Pegasus.
Yeah, Pegasus Courser is back at common, and it's a 3-mana 2/2 this time.
Yeah, this is
better.
Windrake with extreme upside. Really
This card is
powerful.
fantastic.
Yeah.
This is currently looking like I think it might be the second best white common or the best white common, depending on how you put Law Rune Enforcer, but
Right.
it's close.
I give Wanderer Strike the only rating above Trusted Pegasus, and that's just for splashability, and we haven't gotten to it yet.
I think Trusted Pegasus is a B.
Yeah, me too. B- probably B.
B+ and aggro.
B-, but these cards have performed
It's just a B. It's just
really
a B.
well.
This card is great.
Yeah, so we'll give it a B.
It also doesn't even need any other help. Pegasus Courser kind of needed another creature out because it was a 1/3.
Yep.
This is a 2/2. This just gets in there fine by
It
itself.
just bashes. Yeah, B for Trusted Pegasus. Play them. Draft them,
I trust the
open them,
Pegasus.
and pay them. All right, another Planeswalker at Uncommon. This one's called the Wanderer. Nice hat.
Good card. Sorcery Speed Spite the Monstrous with the potential to do it twice is really nice. Don't really think the text is super relevant to you, though it does turn off cards like Jaya's Greeting and Redburn, Jaya's or Chandra's Pyrohelix, Chandra's Triumph. These cards get turned off, and that's actually quite relevant, honestly. Also, Jaya herself gets turned off, which is really nice. But outside of playing against red, I think the ability is pretty ignorable. Soren's Thirst, another card that comes to mind, I guess. But just sorcery speed, Smite the Monstrous, I'm already in. So adding this interesting ability against red decks and adding the ability to do it twice or even potentially 3 times is excellent. That said, Smite the Monstrous was an instant. You could do it in response to tricks, which was nice. The Wanderer is obviously only sorcery speed, but still, I mean, gotta be happy with this. B minus, I think, is reasonable here.
3 and a white for a 5 loyalty.
You could say B if you're really stretching it, but I'm going to say B minus.
Legendary Planeswalker. Again, at uncommon. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. So that, once again, is the static ability on the Wanderer.
Pretty underwhelming static.
Like it just blanks burn spells, basically.
And those burn
And Soren's Thirst.
spells, if they can hit Planeswalkers, which I think just about all of them do, can be pointed at the Wanderer.
Okay. So, yeah, not great.
Worth.
So what's the ability? -2. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. And again, this is 5 loyalty, so similar to Teo, where you can minus twice without augmenting the Wanderer's loyalty and get 2 activations off of that. So that's not the worst, right? Like, if you get this down
good.
and exile 1 thing and the Wanderer is still on the battlefield,
If you get it down exile 1/3, it's already worth 4 mana.
that's actually quite good.
Yeah, I think what'll happen a lot of times is you'll play this, exile something, and then your opponent will kill it if they have another 4 power creature either in play or in their hand, or if they just don't, like you just played against a blue-white deck and exiled their only 4 power creature, they'll just ignore this and it'll still just be a fine exchange for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you do get to kill 2 creatures, this card's busted because you killed 2 big creatures for 4 mana. That's insane.
That's absurd. Yeah. So I like that. I mean, look, we've had this style of conditional removal, 3 or 4 mana to kill something, expensive or big as far as power goes. And this is a really good version of it. It just is. It's sorcery speed. It's slow. It gives you this random bonus about the non-combat damage. That does matter sometimes.
Well, and the random bonus that sometimes you just get 2 activations, or you play this, kill their creature, they attack this, and then so you essentially killed their creature and gained a couple life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a real thing too. So what do we want to grade it though? I mean, a C plus, a C, like this.
Well, that's our
B minus.
job is to figure out what to grade it.
Right. So what grade do you give it?
I would give the Wanderer a C.
Wandering. Yeah.
And I would say that it's a sideboard B, where
okay, yeah,
like I have to.
This caps their proliferate. They have the high roll potential, and by itself, it's just removal. How is removal a C? Like, I'm not saying like Smite the Monstrous is any worse than Gideon's Triumph, and that's what he's saying here is the Wanderer is worse than Gideon's Triumph. That's a stretch to me. I think he's not being consistent with his removal ratings here.
See how this format
Will you
shakes
start
out.
it? That's the real question.
My inclination is yes. I will start this in a deck, especially one that doesn't have a lot of removal.
Every single deck out in the format is going to have a 4 power greater creature. So what's the hesitation here? Like, even if they don't initially have a 4 power creature, they're going to proliferate and get a 4 power creature. So
And
this hits Curious Dambreaker out of the blue decks. This hits Invading Manticore, Bloom Titan, which is a really relevant hit. This hits God, those are just off the top of my head. But again, like, tons of options here.
And note that you can like proliferate your opponent's creatures with a ++1 counter if you want to make them bigger.
Oh yeah, good.
The
point.
Also true.
Spell
Wanderer
them.
can-
Yeah.
So, and if they're going heavy on a mass, they'll have a 5/4/4 or 5/5 zombie
Yep.
token at some of the time. I think that this card is probably worth main decking and then siding out if you don't like what you see.
Yeah.
I don't think you will ever side this out.
But
Also-
I think that I think it's just a really effective sideboard card, though.
Yeah. Also, remember, good against the red decks that are trying to burn out your creatures. Like, they just can't anymore. That does matter.
Yeah.
It's not the main reason to play the card, but it does matter. All right. So
I mean, the fact that she turns off Jaya herself is fucking real nice. I mean, obviously they can just burn your Wanderer, but still worth.
So C for the Wanderer, but don't forget to side it out if it doesn't look like it's going to have any targets.
Or side it in if you didn't main deck it
Yeah.
against like the green decks.
Yep. Because I will say, if you're an aggressive deck, right, the Wanderer is
But isn't every blue deck playing Kyora's Dambreaker? And every black deck is playing, wow, I can't think of the card name. But so we have red is always playing multiple 4-power greater creatures, so is blue, so is green. That's enough decks. And considering that a mass out of black and proliferated creatures in potentially white decks as well will all enable 4-power creatures to be in every deck, like, why would you ever not play the Wanderer? And how would it ever not be removal?
doesn't look super great. You know,
No.
that's not what you want to be
But in
doing.
most mid-range control decks, it seems really good to have one of these because basically, when it kills one thing, it's already good, and when it kills two things, it's insane. So that's like something I don't mind taking a gamble on.
There you go. Wanderer's Strike is next. It's 4 and a white
Wander Strike.
for a sorcery at common. And
Alright. My pick for the number 1 white common. Again, really splashable. Just hard removal and proliferate for 5 mana is a really good deal. Spread the Sickness is a reprint version. Obviously, Exile is better than Destroy, but it's effectively a reprint of Spread the Sickness. And as we saw, there were decks where you splash Spread the Sickness even back then. Now we have some extra abilities to splash Wanderer Strike and some extra incentives with some of the multicolored Planeswalkers. Past that, I mean, you're just getting a wonderful deal here. We've seen Spread the Sickness before, and it's probably even better now. So,
Exile.
B. Okay, we'll say Pegasus B, Wanderer Strike B.
Target creature, then proliferate.
Yeah, note that even though it's the Wanderer's Strike can kill any creature, it doesn't have to have full power.
By the way, the Wanderer really is just literally chopping off something's head here.
Oh yeah, it looks like one of those zombies or whatever.
Yeah, maybe
Eternal.
an Eternal or something. Yeah. So we have sorcery, speed, expensive, but exiles a creature, so kind of gets the job done, and then proliferate, as we've seen, can be quite powerful. I mean, this is certainly playable. I don't think it's amazing, but I
Come on, guys, Spread the Sickness.
anticipate playing these at a pretty brisk clip. The first one
You'll
is
play
always
one. You'll play one for sure, and you might play a second if you pick up 2. Though you're not going to pick up 2 that often because you're just not going to prioritize the second. But
yeah.
it's a C.
Wasn't Spread the Sickness something you played multiple copies of happily? Like, I'm remembering the format correctly here, and something you were willing to splash. Like, how are they not mentioning any of this?
Plus, Wanderer's
C plus.
Strike is
Yeah.
How is Wanderer Strike the same as Gideon's Triumph? Wanderer Strike is better than Gideon's Triumph. I don't care if you want to give it a B- because it's expensive. Like, whatever. Like, the format is slow. Spread the Sickness is great. Spread the Sickness was notoriously underrated going into the format. I don't know how they could make the mistake of not making that connection.
It's going to do the trick. You don't need Proliferate in your deck to make this good. Obviously, it gets better once you have some support, though.
Yeah, for sure. Wanderer Strike, C+. And then our last white card is War Screecher, which is...
Alright, back to Pouncing Lynx. Would you rather put a counter on Pouncing Lynx or War Screecher? And the correct answer is War Screecher. So, yeah, War Screecher is a wonderful card. You put counters on it, it's great. You don't put counters on it, it's great. It protects your walkers, it attacks enemy walkers really well, getting through their 2-drops potentially. Yeah, War Screecher just does a lot of shit. Like, it's really, really good. Solid B-.
It's 1 and a white for a bird. It's common, and it's a 1/3 with flying, and it has an activated ability. I love cheap creatures.
You can argue C+, their rating system's fucking weird. But Wanderer Strike is definitely better than C+. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about there.
Expensive activated abilities. 5 and a white for a tap. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. I like 2 mana 1/3 flyers. Played Pegasus. What was the Pegasus name from Guilds of Ravnica?
Pegasus
A
Courser.
decent amount.
Oh, I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, and
Or was he thinking about another one?
I guess it was Ravnica Allegiance.
Allegiance, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also like you said, a 6 mana, pretty solid mass pump ability. These don't stack really well because they're expensive to activate, but I think having 1 War Screecher or 2 in your aggressive white decks is going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, Concordia Pegasus.
And way better than Pouncing Lynx.
By the way, yes, I agree. And also, once again,
If they give it a C+, I'm going to fucking lose my mind.
a great place to put +1/+1.
Well, that's more of the back of Pouncing Lynx being a C+ when it really shouldn't be a C+ rather than War Screecher not deserving to be a C+. War Screecher is in that C+, B- range. Pouncing Lynx is not.
Counters and then grow them. If you end up with like a 3/5 flying War Screecher, it's like a nightmare for your opponent, whether you're attacking them or blocking. So yeah, this seems like a totally solid little 2-drop with a decent upside rate, and I'm kind of a fan. That said, it's what, a C?
It's still just a C. Yeah.
Holy shit, did they just give this a worse rating than Pouncing Lynx? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, absolutely not. Okay. You know what? They're wrong. I mean, talked about it enough. Let's move on.
For War Screecher. Okay. That moves us to blue.
Alright, that's going to cut it off for this video, guys. I'm going to be doing one color at a time. So, agreements. Gideon's Triumph. Okay, so, let's see. We agreed on Bond of Discipline, Bork Giant, Defiant Strike, Divine Arrow, Gideon's Triumph, Gideon's Sacrifice, Graceful Apparition, I think we agree on, Law Rune Enforcer, Martyr for the Cause, we agree on, Populace, I agree with them all, fair. Sunblade Angel, I think, is there right? We're pretty close on that one. Teo, certainly agree on that. Topicals, definitely agree on that. And our differences were on Johnny's Primate. Again, let's take a look at the life gain cards that we went over. There weren't any good ones in white, so you really have to be playing white-black for Johnny's Primate. Bond, we already agreed on that. Hold on, I'm missing a card. Oh, Battlefield Promotion, we disagreed. I frankly don't think this is a good card. And they thought it was pretty good. We agreed on the O-Ring. The big difference here is Rally of Wings. Again, so we have... so I didn't actually mention, after Trusted Pegasus, we got War Screecher to work with Rally of Wings. So War Screecher, Trusted Pegasus again enabling a double synergy with that card. We have Sunblade, Sungrace, Keyword, Mess, Graceful Apparition. So that's 4 commons and uncommons that work with it on their own, with some extra synergy on top of it. And again, you only need 1. So I'm a big fan of Rally of Wings. I think this card is actually going to be pretty good. Not a bomb or anything, but certainly way better than they said. Agreed on Teo. We agreed on Teo's Light Shields. We disagreed on Wanderer. I frankly think every deck is going to have a target for Wanderer. So, and we disagreed on Wanderer Strike somehow. I don't know how you underrate Spread the Sickness twice in a row, but that's pretty incredible. Okay. Really cool that we shared the same thoughts on Gideon's Triumph, because that was a card I've been thinking about a lot, so hearing somebody else say it gives some validity to kind of the thoughts I've been brewing up there. And that's it. And we disagreed on Pouncing Lynx. I think that was probably our biggest disagreement. There you go. I think LSV and Marshall were blinded by the fact that Guild whatever recruit from Ravnica was just so much better than it was expected to be, that they're giving Pouncing Lynx a similar rating. And they're ignoring the set context. They're ignoring the fact that there are better versions of Pouncing Lynx in the same color, in the same format, whereas there were no better versions of the Guild recruit. They're ignoring all the 1-3s and 1-4s, everything from Teo's Light Shield to sideboarded Teo to War Screecher, and that's just in white. And we could definitely cover, there's definitely 1-3s and 1-4s in other colors as well. So Pouncing Lynx as a on its own attacker, I think is worse than War Screecher already, like just flat out on stat line. And then it scales worse, and then it scales with counters worse. I mean, like, why would you ever want to play Pouncing Screecher when you could play War Screecher? Or Pouncing Lynx when you could play War Screecher? Like, it makes no fucking sense. Yeah, card's not good. Okay, so this was our biggest difference. They love Pouncing Lynx. I think it's pretty shit. So, yeah, that's it for white. I'll be back for blue.